Hello, Grand Plains. Good evening to you. This is JC De Guzman. Let me record my answer in a video format so that I think I can I can give you a better answer by showing you what I exactly see on the screen as I interpret these things for you. So, Grand Plains, I understand that you have now corporation and you had an entry price of 8.83. You also have a PXP and your entry price was 16.24, and just by knowing those entry positions on in both stocks, I already know that you're already above and beyond your uh, trailing stop loss. Any logical trailing stop loss is already has already been broken a long time ago, uh, relative to those entry positions or entry prices that you had on both stocks. But for now, instead of me telling you to just to accept the situation and just do some trimming up losses or cutting your losses, I'd like to show you first my technical analysis on Now Corporation and then with the PXP. I'd like to show you how likely it is for Now Corporation and the PXP for their descent in price to continue. Okay, because when you know the probability between seeing the price bouncing away from the next support level and continuing its trend all the way to the to the deeper to a deeper support level, you would be able, hopefully you would be able to come up with a logical answer that's less based on emotions but mostly based on data, on technical analysis. Okay, this is where this in this particular scenario, I hope other subscribers are also listening. In this particular scenario, we can appreciate, this is where we can appreciate having uh, a properly trained psychology when it comes to trading and investing as well. Because when you are in this particular scenario, it's relatively difficult. I know that when I was a beginner, I know how difficult it is to choose between relying on prayers that hopefully someday the price will bounce away and go up, if at least to a break-even price, and between um, cutting some losses and just move forward, and hopefully you would be able to catch better trades, and so that you can catch your break-even price on some other trades. I understand how difficult that this moment is for you as well as for any beginner in stock trading and investing. But through technical analysis, I'm hoping that I would be able to help you, like what I've said a while back, make a data-driven decision, not an emotion-based one. Okay? Okay, Grand Plains? Let me begin with Now Corporation. This is what I see on the chart of Now. So on Tuesday, we all know, you and I know that Now closed at 2.30. But before we talk about specifically about the price action for today, for Tuesday, I'd like you to notice this one. Since January 17, 2019, since the third week of January this year, Now Corporation has been having a hard time maintaining its position above the 10-day simple moving average. It's consistently staying away above the 10-day simple moving average. So this alone even without looking at these horizontal lines that I plotted a while back, we can already say that these 10-day simple moving average is the acting resistance level of Now Corporation. Sort of, it's like allergic to touching the 10-day simple moving average, huh? You see this? Okay. What does this mean then to you as well as to those who have Now Corporation and those who are planning to have this particular stock? This means that the ascent in price or the recovery of Now Corporation can only be really convincing, well, at least in my perspective, it can only really be convincing if and only if it manages to break out above the 10-day simple moving average and continue its ascent above the 10 SMA at least for 3 to 5 consecutive trading days, preferably with a volume that is at least above the 50% of the 10-day volume average of Now. Did you get that? You can replay that part of the video if that was too mouthful for you. Okay, so those are the signs that I'm keen to see. I am interested to see on Now Corporation for me to say with conviction that Now is already in a breakout phase, in a breakout scenario with uh, with a likelihood of continuing its ascent above the 10-day simple moving average, and hopefully it will break out as well above the 50-day SMA. Speaking of the 50 SMA, this red line here. For me, when the price is already moving below the 50 SMA, that's a double confirmation that the stock is already having a hard time registering an upward trend for itself. Okay, it's a double confirmation of how the stock has been having a hard time trying to reverse the bearish sentiment into a bullish one. And that's the exact case of Now Corporation. Now, going back to your scenario, that your entry price was at 8.83 on Now Corporation, and this stock is already trading at 2.30, 8.83 versus 2.3. That's almost, it's like your holdings on Now Corporation is almost down by 70%, 75 to 80%. I've never used a risk percentage that much in my entire career trading the stock market. I've never, since 2001, I've never risked 80%, 75 to 80% of my, I've never assigned or delegated 75 to 80% as my risk percentage of risk tolerance on any trade. Okay, I think that's unusually too high already. So surely you'd like to know, so Sir JC, what's your overall sentiment on Now Corporation? Do you think it's more likely to find a reversal spot from here? How I wish, Grand Plains, how I wish I can say that Now Corporation has already issued some signs of reversals, but I cannot say that yet. Number one, it's three simple moving averages are showing us a perfect bearish alignment. That's number one. MACD has already crossed below the signal line. That's another bearish signal. Okay. Support is at 1.98. We can say 2.2 pesos per share. Resistance is at 2.5. I prefer, okay, this is a disclosure. I don't have Now Corporation. Okay, personal disclosure, I don't have Now Corporation at this moment. I would only be interested to trade this name if and when I've seen a breakout with volume above its 10-day volume average, when the price is already moving above 3 pesos per share, particularly above 3.20. Okay, so in other words, if and when Now Corporation is moving above 3.20, I have to reevaluate if those four criteria that we always check are present. And what are those four criteria? All of you should have memorized these criteria by now. Number one, it should be a green candlestick. Number two, volume should be at least above 50%, above the 50% of its 10-day volume average. Number three, the last price should be moving above the volume weighted average price, VWAP. Number four, the most traded and most voluminous range should be closer to the intraday high than the intraday low. So when those four criteria are present, when Now Corporation is moving above 3 or above 3.20 per share, then that's the only time when I would be interested. That's the only time that I would entertain the idea of doing a test buy on Now Corporation. Needless to say, Grand Plains, I'm still bearish on Now. I'm still bearish on Now. With that overall sentiment that's based on technical analysis, what's the logical action item that's left for you, Grand Plains? Your entry price was 8.83. Current price or last price up now is 2.3. Whether we like it or not, whether you like it or not, the only logical solution or action plan or action item for you is to trim your losses. I know giving you a piece of advice to trim your losses is already a painful piece of advice to hear. It's all the more, okay, 10 times the pain if I were to tell you sell all of your shares at a loss. I know it's 10 times the pain of hearing that piece of advice. So let's reduce the pain a little. So the only logical action item for you to do is to trim your losses by selling a few tranches at a loss. Because if you're not going to do that, and if Now Corporation continues to descend all the way near to 1.98 or 2 pesos per share, I don't have to tell you that your losses will just increase when that happens. You will have an increase in losses when that happens, and that's what you don't want to happen. That's what you don't want to happen. That's what you don't want to see happening. So at this moment, it's advisable to be more prudent. So trim your losses. If Now Corporation continues to go up from here, from 2.30, then try to trim your losses again every time Now Corporation hits a major resistance level. You have the option to hold your position and not sell if and only if those four criteria are present. For example, let's say you will trim your losses at 2.30 on Wednesday, the last trading day of the Holy Week. And then let's say Now Corporation continues to go up and break out above 3.20 next week. You don't have to sell another tranche near 3 to 3.20 if those four criteria are present. Because if those four criteria are present, meaning to say, it's more likely for the stock to register a price higher than 3 to 3.20. Okay, maybe it still has some gas to drive and break out all the way to 4.25, the next resistance above 3.18. So that's how you should reevaluate the scenario, so that you will know if you should sell another tranche at a loss, or if it's more logical to hold your position so you can take advantage of the ongoing ascent in price of the stock. So that's how you should reevaluate the scenario. If you need assistance, I'm just a message away from our private clients forum, just like what you did. You posted your question asking for an assistance. Okay, but that's my sentiment and logical recommendation for Now Corporation. Okay, how I wish I can tell you to, hey Grand Plains, just hold your position. Now Corporation will be crossing above 6 pesos per share next week. Well, how I wish I can tell that to you. But there's a lot of work to do for Now Corporation just to break out above 6 pesos per share actually. It has to break out above 3.18, or no, not 3.18, but 2.5 first. After that, 3.18. After that, 4.25. After that, 5.94. See? That's not an easy fit for Now Corporation. Now let's move on to your PXP. PXP closed on Tuesday at 7.25, and what was your entry price? 16.24. 16.24, that's about 60% down. Okay, notice this one again. It's sort of similar to my observation on Now's 10-day SMA. You can notice here how consistent PXP in terms of unsuccessful attempts to break out above the 10 SMA. Since when? Let's trace it back. Let's retrace since March, second week of March. So we can say that this 10 SMA here is one of the resistance levels of PXP. And we don't even see the candlestick inching closer to the 10 SMA. In fact, it's like it's maintaining this gap. It's maintaining the gap between the last price and the 10 SMA. It's positioned below the 10 SMA. Something that's identical to the distance between the MACD and the signal line in favor of the bearish, in favor of the bears. Okay, and it also manifests, this bearishness also manifests on the sentiment of foreign investors. See, foreign investors are bearish on PXP for 2019 year to date. They have not shown any significant interest to buy up on PXP. See? So, what does this mean then? Oh, but before my overall sentiment, I'd like you to know as well that PXP's 3 SMAs are showing us a perfect bearish alignment as well. So my overall sentiment on PXP is bearish, and The answer to your question, you did not write this in the forum. You did not ask me this, but for sure, this is one of the questions that this is one of your the biggest questions that you would like to ask. I know that. Sir, is it more likely for PXP to recover from here? I think PXP, I would be interested to trade the name if and when the price is already moving above 9.84, this level here. Let me plot a rectangle for you. This level. Okay. I would be interested to trade PXP if and when the price or the price is already moving above 7.47, above that level. Yeah, 7.47 rather. It's okay, but for now I think it's more PXP is more likely to retest the historical support near 5.11. Near 5.11. I'm not yet confident that this green candlestick this Tuesday is already a confirmed clue or signal that PXP is about to regain its position above the resistance at 7.47. Not to mention that most investors or traders are on a vacation mode. They are in a vacation mode this Holy Week season. Okay, this Lenten season. So this is not the right time to be hopeful on PXP. Okay? So my overall sentiment remains bearish on PXP, and just like the advice, the piece of advice that I gave to you for Now Corporation, it's the same piece of advice in here. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but that's the only scientific and logical solution or logical action item. Instead of uh, holding on to this stock that does not give us any clear signs of reversals, clear signs of a reversal. No signs yet. No signs yet. Okay. So my advice is that you trim your losses every time PXP hits a resistance level. Now, I mentioned when I was discussing now that you should only entertain the idea of holding your position instead of selling a few tranches. Well, at a loss still, you should only entertain the idea of holding your position instead of selling in tranches if those four criteria are present. Because if they are present, then it will be more likely for PXP to break out above 7.47, followed by 9.84, and if once PXP breaks out above 9.84 and those four criteria are still present, then it's a sign that there's a strong possibility for PXP to continue its ascent all the way to, well, not 13.63 yet, maybe around here, 11.45. That's the midterm resistance as a precursor to 13.63. Okay, and what was your entry price on PXP? 16.24. That's gotta hurt, I know. Run planes, I'm sorry that I can't give you, some false hopes just to, just to console you. My job here is to just to interpret what I what I really see on the screen. And that's the reason why I decided to record my answer so that you can also see what I'm seeing, so that you can see what I'm clicking, what I'm moving around, okay, so that you would be able to understand it better. Okay, so I'm still bearish both on both stocks, and I have not seen any clear signs of reversal. So meaning to say, I'm more inclined to think that Now Corporation and PXP are not still done. They are not still exhausted in their selling appetite. Okay, so that's my answer. That's my painful answer to your question, Grand Plains. Uh, I'm hoping, Grand Plains, that on your next trades, whether we're talking about short-term trading or long-term investing, please etch it on a stone that you should not do this again. That moving forward, you should set up a trading stop loss for yourself in whatever trade that you will do, so that you won't see yourself asking the same painful question over and over again. Okay, so let me just show you, by the way, the price and volume distribution analysis, my price and volume distribution analysis for both stocks. But anyway, I've given you my overall sentiment and recommendation already, but for what it's worth, let me just show you what I saw on Now Corporation's price and volume distribution charts today. So 2.3, if I remember it correctly, Now Corporation closed at 2.3 on Tuesday, right? Yes, I was right. So 2.3. And this price point here got the biggest volume and the highest number of trades as well. Okay, so it's somewhere in the middle. That's why I'm also not super positive. I'm not super positive yet that Now Corporation is strongly on its way back to its resistance level above 2.5 or at 2.5. Okay, so I'm still half-hearted to say that. So I'm not that convinced yet that it's about that now is that now has awakened already. I don't think it has awakened yet. Now let's take a look at PXP's price and volume distribution. It's a lot. We see lots of price fluctuations on its price, on its volume distribution and trade distribution charts. What was the closing price of PXP? It was 7.25. 7.25 is closer to its intraday high of 7.28. So the most voluminous and most traded range is registered between 7.2 up to 7.28. Okay, 7.2 to 7.28. Volume was about 75% of a PXP's 10-day volume average. If volume was significantly above its 10-day volume average, and we see this price action today, I think if that's what I see, then I will be I might tell you that there's a possibility for PXP to regain its position above 7.55, but volume is just 75% of its 10-day volume average. So I'm not that convinced as well for me to be bullish on PXP in the short term. Whether it's short term, medium term, or long term, I remain bearish on PXP. So Grand Plains, I do hope I was able to assist you in making this difficult decision of cutting your losses by giving you a data-driven analysis. I do hope I was able to explain this technical stuff about Now and PXP. If you have any follow-up question, Grand Plains, please post them not on this video but in this particular thread that you have created, and um, I'll get back to you for sure. Okay, so let me know. Let me know if this helps as well. Thank you, Grand Plains.